Hey, deserving listeners, this is Chapter 7 in our deep dive on the psychology of Josh Powell. Let's get into it. What do you say, Berto?
Let's do it.
This is the Psychology in Seattle podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. Who are you, Berto?
My name is Humberto Castañeda. I am an exotic llama domesticator.
So in the previous chapter, we reviewed the data that we have around Susan's disappearance, which happened Sunday, December 6th, 2009. Everyone assumes that Josh, the husband, killed Susan that night. We also reviewed what we know about the next day, and we watched some video clips. In this episode, I want to start by organizing the presentation around what Josh claims and whether or not it makes any sense. But before we do that, let's watch a video of an interview that a news reporter conducted with Josh soon after Susan's disappearance. Josh is getting in and out of his car in somewhere, maybe at work or something, and the news crew capitalizes on that and rushes him. Let's watch that interview.
Hi. Josh? Hey, I'm Chris Jones from Tennessee. How are you?
Okay.
Yeah. How you doing? I know this has been difficult for you. What's going through your mind today?
Well...
And by the way, this is on the YouTube channel Chris Jones. Presumably, it's the reporter himself. He has his own YouTube channel.
I've been trying to figure out what I can do so I don't sit idle. I'm dealing with this repeatedly.
Sure.
I was just going to go in and get my kids because, you know, they're
How are they doing?
They've been doing good.
So any first impressions of this interview with Josh Powell?
That is so bizarre. So, first off, two very interesting things. Three, actually. The first one is when he first gets approached, and it's hard to tell. The video is obviously low quality, but it almost seemed to me like in the first interaction, he's like, I'm not going to say he's smiling, but he's like, oh, hey. And then he remembers, like, oh, right, no, I'm like super devastated right now. That's the first thing. The second thing is he's like, how are you doing? He's like, oh, you know, I have to deal with this. Like, I've had to deal with a lot of this. Like, sure, but is that the biggest issue right now? And then the third thing is like, how are the kids doing? It's like, oh, they're fine. They're good. It's like, it's just an odd thing. As a parent, I'm thinking like, what do you mean? Like they're devastated. We're like distraught. Like we don't know what's happened to their mom. But you know, I'm also speaking with the benefit of hindsight, knowing that I think I know that he did it, because one could say, well, in those moments, maybe you are so worried and frazzled that you don't really know what you're saying.
Worried about being caught?
No, I'm saying if I were to give the benefit of the doubt,
Oh.
you would still be worried about what actually happened. So you might say dumb things anyways.
Right. It's sort of like when the press cornered Paul McCartney after John Lennon died, and among a lot of things that Paul McCartney said, there was some quote that he said that made it look like Paul McCartney didn't really care. Do you remember?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't remember the exact thing he said.
Let me look it
But
up.
yes, it was sort of this...
Paul's... So according to the internet, and I remember this, he said, among a number of things, Paul McCartney said, it's a drag.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
It's like,
It's a drag.
it's a drag.
It's a drag, man.
It's a bummer.
It's a bummer.
That John Lennon was murdered. And of course, at the time, and to this day, there's all these overblown rumors about how much they hated each other. And all
and
that
that
kind of
wasn't even the real Paul McCartney.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what you're saying. Is like,
I'm
well,
saying that, like,
maybe he's
on the one
frazzled
hand-
and
right.
he doesn't know what to say. And
On the one hand, I'm reading this kind of thinking I know that he killed it. So I'm looking at it going like, really? You're like, oh, hey, oh, yeah, right. Oh, I'm so devastated. But I'm actually more annoyed about all the cameras. And the kids are fine. That's my takeaway. But it is possible that someone who is actually going through the grief would also say weird things. And
well, assuming that he murdered Susan, soon before this, do you find it interesting that this is his response?
yeah. If I were actually trying to appear like I'm innocent, I guess my act would be more like "Oh, I'm so sorry. Like I can't really talk right now. And, like actually, you're actually like in shock and disbelief.
Yeah.
Also, this is just one day.
No, this might be like a week.
Oh, it's a week. Oh, okay, it's a week. Okay.
It's soon after.
Okay. So actually, in anyways, that makes kind of worse because now you really haven't found her, right? I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to say because, like I said, people react in all sorts of weird ways with grief, but at the same time, it just doesn't feel legit.
It's very strange to me, and I think it points at something that I want to highlight, and I'll go into it more later when I conceptualize his personality. I think the stereotype is that these kinds of people are masterminds. They're smart, and he did test high on the IQ test, very high, 97 percentile. But I think what this points to is he has a lot of issues, a lot of impairments with empathy, with social skills, with emotions because of the traumas that he went through. It's possible that he also had some other issues, but it can all be explained by the massive amounts of trauma that he went through at the hands of Susan Powell, and also all the chaos and perhaps the lack of attunement. He struggled with emotions. We've been over all that data. And also he struggles with empathy. He struggles with understanding what's going on in other people's minds because I believe of the adaptation of narcissism that he seemed to have developed. And when you're in a situation like this, you can't predict what other people are thinking, and you also don't understand how emotions work because you haven't had practice.
Yeah.
And then when you're asked questions soon after what he is hoping everyone believes, that Susan disappeared or got murdered, and but it wasn't me, right? You would think that he would know that he should say something along the lines of "I'm sad," or even just avoid the press in general, just to be like, "Hey, sorry, I can't talk right now."
Or potentially, at the very least, because I'm actually thinking, so I'm going through a thing right now where my cat, which I told you, my cat has been missing for a week. As of tomorrow morning, it will be a week. He is indoor, outdoor, but this will be the longest he's ever been gone. And it hasn't even fully hit me yet, but I'm already grieving. But if a reporter came to me asking me about my cat, the first thing I would do is like, cameras? Oh my God, if anyone has any information, let me show you pictures. Let me talk to you about what they're like, where I last saw them.
Oh my God.
This is like free freaking press for the thing that I love being rescued.
Good point. I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the thing is like, we're not in this situation. But if you were really in the situation of, for 1 week, the person you supposedly love, the mother of your children, is actually missing, you're doing anything to find them.
Right. Yeah. So what generally this points to, which I'll get into later, is that whatever issues he suffers from results in a lot of different things. It results in this monstrosity of an interview.
Yeah.
It also results in all the things that led to him being a failure in life. It also led to all the things that resulted in him having a massive conflictual relationship in his very short marriage. And it resulted in all the things that led up to him making a choice to kill Susan. That's why we call them personality disorders, because they cause dysfunction.
Yeah.
And they will tend to cause dysfunction in a lot of arenas, right? So it's not like he has this massive dysfunction with emotion and relationships and attachment and rage and communication, but suddenly he has the ability to respond to a reporter in a way that will get him off the hook. When you have these kind of problems, they'll show up all over the place, and I think they're showing up here, is my point. Let's watch more of this.
As far as I can tell.
How about you? I mean, I know this is difficult on you. How are you doing? I mean, it's got to be a lot of emotions going on for you.
So, by the way, everyone suspects he killed her because of the story that he went camping during a blizzard after midnight with his 1-year-old and 4-year-old. So everyone suspects that he killed her and drove her somewhere and dumped her somewhere, right? So this reporter is acting like, I mean, I assume he's acting like he's being concerned and playing along, but he's trying to provoke Josh to say something that might implicate him or something.
Yeah.
People have been really helpful and supportive, so it's been really hard, but you just keep going.
What can you tell us about that night? I mean,
That statement he just made is a statement of someone who knows that they've lost the person. I don't know how long I guess like we're printing posters for my cat. I don't know how long I'm going to be hoping that cat returns. But if it were my wife, I'd go decades looking for her and then still look. Like, and if it's been a week and they are missing, it is possible that something really bad happened. But you certainly would be, the amount of curiosity you yourself would have about like, well, it's unexplainable. Like, I left the kid, she was at home. There's no trace of her, all everything. Like, what happened?
Right.
But certainly not the reaction that I wouldn't expect would be like, it's hard.
It's a tragedy. Oh, well,
Tragedy.
My kids are good.
We'll move on. The kids are good as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
The 1-year-old is great.
Yeah.
The 4-year-old,
I hadn't even thought of
even
that. I
better.
hadn't thought about that. Yeah, absolutely. 2 years later, family members will still be operating from an assumption that there's still a chance that their loved one is out there if the body has never been found, So, let's watch some more.
And from what we understand, you went camping and then came home. Well, tell us what happened that night.
Yeah, a lot of times I just go camping with my boys, not anything big. I just go overnight and we do s'mores and stuff like that. And so I just went with the boys. I was planning to do some s'mores in the morning and we did. And then when we got home, on the way home, I found out that people were worried about us and we were missing.
And
Any thoughts on that?
again, like, it just does, I usually take my boys, hey, just so you know, I'm establishing an alibi here. I usually take my boys camping. That's just the thing we do. And to prove that I'm not lying, I'll add a detail. We cook s'mores. I mean, now you know that it's real. And to connect the dots, that night I was taking them camping. And guess what? We were going to cook s'mores in the morning. So, like, you get it? That's what was happening. Then when I got home, wait. Okay, on the way home.
So are you highlighting how he hesitates?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to, like, when I got home, no. On the way home, people started worrying about us, I guess. And by the way, he hasn't mentioned her at all.
Right.
She's the one missing.
A more believable response, and there's many, would have been something, in terms of that bit, would have been something like, and then while I was camping, all of a sudden I look at my phone and there's all these voicemails and texts and everything. And so I called and I find out that no one knows where Susan is. And so I thought she must just be at work or at a friend's house, or maybe
And I call her cell phone.
Right. And then...
And there's no answer because it's in my car without a SIM card.
Right. Well...
But anyways.
So instead, he's just like, yeah, and then... he's thinking... And then I learned everyone's freaking out. So, yeah, that's the story.
Yeah.
Like, there's no mention of... That would be the biggest highlight if she actually did... if he didn't kill her. That would be the biggest highlight in your memory, right? That moment when you were informed that she was missing.
Yeah.
That would be burnt into your brain.
Well, and actually, that wouldn't have been when you're on your way home. That probably because.
Well, he at some point he answers the phone, which I'll get into later. There's a whole kind of thing about that detail, and he's informed by the neighbor, that same neighbor with the pancakes, that everyone's looking for him, and the police are there and all this stuff, and no one knows where Susan is.
Yeah, but at that point, that's what I'm saying. Like, if this were real, like, I'm imagining myself, for whatever bizarre reason, I literally did go camping at midnight with my little babies. Okay, I'm on my way back the next day, and I've gotten the days mixed up. All this is true, fine. I get a call, neighbor says, "Hey, cops are looking for you guys. Where are you guys?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, it's shoot. Well, I took the kids camping, but Susan's home." No, apparently Susan's not home. I wouldn't immediately jump to like, that's when I knew she'd disappeared. No, because like I'm sure she went to the grocery. I don't know. I'm on my way. I'll be there in a minute. We'll figure this out. She's not missing, because I have no reason to imagine she's gone missing.
Right.
So sure, she was feeling a little tummy ache, but I mean, come on.
Right. And I'll get to this later. He dilly-dallies before he comes home. It's very strange. But let's watch more of this.
The report is that neither you nor your wife called in sick, and they said that that's not usual. What are your thoughts on that?
No, it's not usual.
I guess why didn't you call in sick?
These long pauses. So this is consistent with the police interviews that I've watched and other interviews that he's had with the press. If he's innocent, then you'd say, well, he's reserved, or he's not a quick thinker, or he's going through a lot. But it seems excessive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This is my suspicion, is that at some point earlier on, he decided, okay, I'm going to kill her. And we went over that in a previous chapter. And he said, I'm going to investigate the principles of what I will do after I kill her. And I imagine he came across information or advice or something that you shouldn't talk much, because
if you don't give details.
Right. Because if you talk a lot, then you will inadvertently implicate yourself. So the principle is, don't say anything unless you're sure that it's okay to have said that.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to just not say anything. And also think before you speak. And he, although has a high IQ, there's a lot to process. And also, I don't think he has a ton of common sense.
Yeah.
I think he's good with academic type tasks, right? Like remembering numbers or organizing blocks or something.
Except until you have to do it for real and pass classes and get jobs that you can hold, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And when it involves emotion and a lot of complexity, he short circuits, I think.
Yeah.
Plus, he's had a week, maybe even a couple years to come up with, the 10 bullet points. And he's been interviewed by the police many times. You think there would be like a quick answer to these questions, but continually it looks like there's evidence that he improv'd the entire thing.
Right. And it's again, what I was saying in another episode, is if he didn't do it, oh man, I wish someone could help him and coach him, or like, because no one would ever imagine that someone who didn't do it would have gotten away with all of this,
Right.
Because it just seems so.
And we see this all the time when we review these cases, these true crime cases. The criminal often is bumbling the job from the very beginning.
Yeah.
It's not like, some Tom Cruise movie where you have this multifaceted, super buttoned up plan that is taken. It just seems like, how did you not catch? And I'll get into why the police didn't charge him and why he wasn't really investigated. But let's watch a little bit more of this interview.
I didn't. I was somehow thinking that it was Sunday. I didn't go to church, and I just missed a day and thought, come back Sunday,
So you got confused on what day it was.
Yeah.
Now, from what we understand, there's nothing. Looks like no foul play in the home. It appears that your wife left her cell phone and purse. I mean, do you have any? I mean, does she go off to sort of maybe clear her head? I mean, do you have any idea where she could be?
No, she'll leave during the day, but she's never left overnight.
He comes across, if I didn't know better and I was just reading this verbatim, I would think he was talking to Charlie.
Yeah.
The way he's responding is that of a child, and he might be regressing. And some people might be wondering if there's some neurodivergence, maybe autism or something. And I'll get into that more when I provide my final conceptualization. And yeah, it's possible. There's not a ton of evidence of that, and there's plenty of other potential causes for this, most namely that he made a policy early on because of his research that he would be very, very careful about what he said, and he's not sharp when it comes to common sense about how to communicate, and he's not particularly charming, right? You imagine if he had more charm, right, he could sort of fill in those silent gaps, like sorry, it's just been a lot, so it's going to be hard. Like, he's so dead.
Yeah.
He's so devoid of any kind of life. He's not even moving. He's just like, his face is so still. And I think it's explained by the abuse he went through and the way he has trouble with emotions. And also, it would be a big thing. To kill someone is a big thing.
Right.
So it's not like it is in the movies where it's like, okay, lickety split. I don't think he's a psychopath. I think he actually does have the capacity for empathy and was probably traumatized by, and there's evidence that he might have been hands-on with the killing.
Right.
And was likely very hands-on with the disposal of the body. So that might have harmed him in a way that he's still affected by. Also, he was massively abused growing up, which can develop an individual to cope by dissociating. I didn't hear any other evidence that he had a pattern of dissociating, but some people can have like mild dissociation under stress, and that's kind of what it looks like to me. He just seems shut off, right?
Right. And you notice that once again, everything is still about what he did, right? So like, it's like, well, so it's unusual. It's like, yeah, well, I just forgot what day it was. But the thing is, like, again, you would think it's like, yeah, I don't understand. She never misses work. It is really weird that, and maybe I mean, even if you dial back the, because I'm a very expressive, emotive person, but still, just even someone saying like, it is very weird. She never misses work. She always calls. That's the weirdest thing.
Yeah. Also,
right?
Even if you are the murderer,
yeah,
you think you would have thought about something to say in this moment that would kind of make him look innocent, right? He's saying nothing to help himself.
Especially, and I think like if you are innocent or like if you're a murderer trying to get away with it, part of it is like, like the fact that you forgot the day, none of that actually technically matters if you're innocent. I mean, yes, you'll have to talk about it in the court of law, whatever. But in the moment, it actually doesn't matter. What matters is she's missing. It's so weird that she wouldn't call in. Yeah, that's what doesn't make sense. And why would her purse be there? Like, these are the things that you thinking it was Sunday, because no one, that's not the point.
Yeah. Now, maybe he's thinking, I don't need the public to approve or disapprove.
Sure.
Because that doesn't matter. I don't know. But let's watch a little bit more.
Does she have any enemies that you can think of that would?
I can't think of anyone.
Now, a lot of talk on the internet. I mean, obviously in cases like this, and you know this, they instantly talk about the husband. They think that he's the suspect, that he did something. Is there anything you want to say to address that?
I didn't do anything. I mean, I don't know where she's at.
I guess there are people who act very weird in life.
Yeah.
That makes no sense. Like,
Why?
and again, maybe I'm just projecting too much, but if I know that I didn't do something like that, I mean, it's just.
But again, even if you did, is my point.
And you're trying to get away. I know. It's like,
what would you have said?
okay, so I'd be like, yeah, of course that's the natural initial thing. I can't convince anyone of anything out there in the internet. Right now, none of that matters to me.
Yeah.
I just want to find my wife. Here's all the information. Again, blah, blah, blah. Please call it like that.
Yeah. Or scapegoat someone. Like, the police aren't looking with enough resource or something.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that I'm also trying. Okay. If I am the killer trying to get what, yeah, that's a great point. It's like, like me, like I've given all the information. What about, I don't know, like.
But a more typical response that I think would happen is a husband who loves his wife, who is being accused of killing his wife, would say, are you kidding me? We had our ups and downs, but I loved her. I would never I've never heard anybody. I would never. Maybe I can't convince people, but no, I'm not capable of that. She's a good person. She doesn't deserve to be here. I would never hurt her. Something like,
I think you might have done it, Kirk. No, listen, I know. The point is, whatever it is, it would have been natural if he were innocent. And if he were a good, I guess, liar, it would have felt natural.
I don't think you need to be a good liar. I think you just have to be.
This feels like, because essentially, like you were saying, it just feels dead.
Yeah.
It feels like, I didn't do anything.
If I didn't know better, I would think he was high.
Yeah.
Like heroin or opiates or something.
I didn't do anything. I just, I don't know where she is.
Yeah. I didn't do anything.
I didn't do anything.
I didn't. What do you? I didn't do anything.
I didn't do anything.
It's like
the snow got her. I mean, I didn't do anything.
Let's watch a little bit more.
I don't even know where to start looking.
And the boys, I mean, what do you tell them about them?
I haven't told them anything. I mean, they've overheard stuff, but I haven't. I mean, by the time it all started, I was already it was already late and went to bed.
Well,
It's been hectic ever since.
Now, your wife laid down that night, right? She wasn't feeling well, is that? And then that's when you went camping, right? Where'd you guys go camping?
Well, she wasn't not feeling well.
Oh, okay.
She was feeling well.
Okay.
But she just went to bed.
About 5-ish, is that what we heard? We heard 5. I don't know if that's true. You would know better than we would.
No, she went to bed that night.
And what time did you go camping, would you say?
I got out to a pretty late start.
9-ish, something like that?
No, it's later.
Okay.
Basically, I'm just trying to figure out what I can do, and both try to find her and try to take care of life in general.
But it took this long before he finally says something that he probably prepared in case this happens, of I'm just trying to figure out how to find her or something. And then he says, and I'm also just trying to figure out how to deal with, and I think he's going to say the kids, but then he says life, just like general life stuff.
Because, he got in over his head. Like he knew that, oh my gosh, now I'm babbling and I'm saying.
Well, plus they're asking him details.
Right.
And he, I think, knows that so if he just starts blabbing about timelines and stuff.
Which he did. He started saying, he started getting into tricky territory because he's like, no, then I left. And he's like, well, and the thing that's insane is it's as if he didn't actually have a 1-year-old, meaning anyone who's had a 1-year-old at any time, let alone, including a 4-year-old, but let alone a 1-year-old. Sleep is so important at all times, right? So the idea that you would drag the 1-year-old out of the house at those times, but to him it's normal and stuff. That's just bizarre. So I think he starts realizing like, oh, okay, this isn't. So he pulls back. He's like, anyways, I'm just trying to find her.
Right. He has that at the ready.
Yeah.
And I hadn't realized this until you said that about how it would be strange to take a 1-year-old on a situation like that. But we've already been over how he and his father, Stephen, had zero parenting skills and no boundaries and were basically like children themselves. And so he wanted, if he were the boy's bigger brother who's 11 years old, they decided, hey, because there's no checks and balances, let's go camping. We wouldn't expect an 11-year-old to care about a 1-year-old's sleep or the well-being or anything. They're not expected to think that. That's, I think, another piece of evidence as to what's going on underneath everything for him, because he thinks that's a legitimate story, and there's seeming evidence that maybe he even planned that. There's also a theory, which I'll get into later, that he just adjusted on the fly. But regardless, he, given his superego problems, which we went over earlier, he doesn't realize that looks strange from the outside, I think is what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
So, verdict, Berto, innocent or guilty, given what we're watching here?
Based on this interview, either he is absolutely guilty or he is so unlucky to have such poor skills at negotiating this in reality. Yeah, because if he were really innocent and trying to go through all this, then there's a whole other layer of, wow, sorry, someone needs to help you. Someone needs to intervene.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he doesn't look distressed.
Yeah.
But let's take a break. What do you say?
Let's do it.
All right, we're back from the break. So I want to have this section be about Josh's claims, because as we review this, it will illuminate a lot of the details of the story that are important. So a summary of his story before getting into the details is that on Sunday night, as he was saying, he left Susan at home and he took the boys camping. He doesn't know where Susan is, and he figures that she went to work or something. But if she didn't show up to work, then he doesn't have any idea. That's generally his approach when questioned by the police. So claim number one that he makes, and let's evaluate each claim based on, and I'll give more evidence that is in support or not of each claim. Number one, and by the way, I didn't need to do this, but I had to.
Yeah.
So the other night, you actually had canceled a recording of the podcast, and I was already putting my notes together, and I just thought, okay, well, I'll spend a little bit more time putting my notes together because now I have the rest of the night to do whatever I want to. I was up till 2 or 3 in the morning just going over all the data and like trying to confirm things. There's all these like conflicting stories by people.
Wow.
and organizing it. And it was like I was a lawyer trying to put together a prosecution case.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, this is his claim. Okay, what evidence? So this is all part of this process. Okay. So his first claim that I'll mention is that Sunday at midnight, he took the boys on a camping trip, even though there was a huge blizzard and the boys were 1 and 4 years old. Now, something to think about is that camping in certain regions of the United States, I think also in this region, isn't that strange because it's a frequent occurrence.
Yeah.
Also, in some regions, it's not unusual to go camping with your 1 and 4 year old. For some families, that sounds ridiculous, but I think
I mean, camping with a 1 and 4 year old seems fine under different context.
Yeah, but if you're experienced with camping in the snow, and if they did go camping, and I think they did go camping a lot, then it wouldn't be that big of a deal, and maybe a blizzard wouldn't be.
No, it's just, but the logistics of, so getting a 1 year old to sleep is important.
Yeah.
Starting a trip with a 1 year old at midnight.
Yeah. They're already in bed, by the way.
Yeah.
Assuming, right?
This is where
You're waking them up out of bed.
So at the very least, we have to. If nothing bad had happened to Susan, everything else is the same. I would have to conclude, oh my God, you're a terrible parent.
Yeah. So a few days later, police investigated the area that he claimed he went camping in, and they didn't find any evidence of the campsite that Josh had described. But it's possible that the evidence had been degraded by time and the weather, all the snow and everything. So it's unclear. Also, a police officer drove the route of Josh's timeline, there and back, and found that his timeline does work out in terms of the story. And as he was driving out there or driving back, he ran into a sheep herder, I think. A shepherd, I guess is another word for it.
A scruffy sheep herder.
Yeah. Didn't interact with him, I don't think, but claimed that he ran into some sheep along the way. And then the police found the farmer or whatever, the guy with the sheep.
Yeah.
And they asked him if he had seen anything, and that individual did in fact confirm Josh's story. So the conclusion is that this claim might be true. More on this later, but it might be true, just to establish this on my thinking, that it is possible that he did take the boys on a camping trip. The boys were interviewed, obviously.
Sorry, isn't that a fact, though? Isn't it was anyone disputing that he took the boys at midnight?
Well, it's important to evaluate these claims because he could have done something else. He could have never gone camping and just went to a hotel room, or, there's a lot of other possibilities. I'm just establishing fact and likelihood. Another claim that he makes, the second one, is that he had left Susan sleeping at home. And so there's not much evidence of this, and there wouldn't necessarily be a lot of evidence of this, right? Now, when they interviewed the older boy, remember he's 4, and if you've ever talked to a 4-year-old, especially when you're asking them to remember something that happened.
While they were sleepwalking their way to the car because Dad was taking them somewhere.
Right, and more on that later. But Charlie told the police, the older boy, that Susan actually came with them.
Of course she did. Yeah.
But it's hard to evaluate. Charlie didn't say she was asleep and unconscious or she was wrapped up in a tarp. He just said, yeah, Mommy came with us. Now, that is in alignment with that claim from the neighbor that said that she heard the yelling at night, but we've already established that's not sound data. And it's impossible I've watched Charlie's interview and read a lot of the transcripts. It's like reading Nostradamus. The kinds of things that Charlie says, it's all over the board. And when you are anomaly hunting, you can see evidence that Charlie knows what happened to Susan and saw Susan being killed or something. But there's a lot of other statements that Charlie is making that is contrary to that. And there's also statements that Charlie is making that are clearly, they can't be true. Like, this isn't one of them, but there's things like, and then the unicorns came and the candy canes were there. Like, he says things that are clearly him just making shit up. Yeah. So it's just hard to know is my point. A lot of people on the internet will hang a lot of certainty on what Charlie was saying, but it's just hard to know. So the conclusion about this claim that he left Susan sleeping at home is no fucking way. There's just no way. More on that later. Okay.
I mean, the only other thing, because I was thinking what had happened was that he had taken the boys, before I knew all the timeline, I thought that he left with the boys when the lady first claimed that he left with the boys. Because that would have made more sense as an alibi, right? Like, he made sure the neighbor or whoever saw him leaving with the boys by himself, right? And that he didn't come back till much later by himself to get Susan.
Right. And I was about to say, but that wouldn't be smart, ... But there's a lot of things pointing at the dude ain't particularly bright when it comes to common sense things. But from the outside, the smarter move would have been to show the neighbor we're going camping, right? Yeah. But he was just going sledding. But anyway, so the third claim that we're going to evaluate is that Josh claimed that Susan had probably run off with another man. He's not saying it at this point, but later he would, and Stephen. This is their speculation. Even though she left her wallet, her ID, her cell phone, the money in her bank account was untouched, the money in her retirement account was untouched, and her children.
Yeah.
I mean, even a mediocre parent doesn't just abandon your children, right? So, but at the very least, even if you're like, well, she's an awful parent, who leaves all of their money?
She met a billionaire. It's off to Tahiti.
Yeah, okay. So there's that. Now, let me talk about a theory that a lot of people are considering, which is there's another individual named Stephen Kocher. He disappears a week after Susan disappeared, and he was also a Mormon, like the Powell family, and he lived in the same small town of Valley City. So people started wondering, with the internet sleuths and everything, they start thinking maybe Susan runs off with Stephen Kocher, right? And when they get their hands on her diary years later, they see that Susan wrote in her diary about having a crush on a guy that she knew.
Oh.
And also, when you look at her emails, it looks like she is okay with flirting with other men. So you're wondering, okay, maybe she ran off with someone. Maybe she even ran off with Stephen Kocher. So, Berto, if she had, even if she left all of her money and all of her stuff, maybe she does that to make it look like she was killed or something. What evidence would we likely find upon looking at her journal and reading her emails and looking at statements that witness? Like, what would we likely find?
You mean the journals that she knew she had left behind for others to find?
Yeah.
After running away with someone that she didn't want anyone to know about?
Okay, so never mind about that. but really, I mean, because even that, right?
But that's kind of the point. It's like, first of all, she would have taken her damn journal with her. but if she was really that odd thinking about the whole thing, then yeah, she would have certainly said, like, I'm thinking of leaving.
So let's say that she doesn't say that's something obvious. But what would be a typical trail of crumbs that someone would leave behind if they were planning on running away with someone and they did run away with someone?
Like, you'd find some entries about, like, it wouldn't have been just like, I have a crush on someone. It's like, I met them for coffee. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I probably shouldn't have gone. But then, we ended up going to dinner now. And like there's like
and if you questioned everyone around them, which the police, for the most part, did, what might be some things that you might hear?
I saw her at the cafe the other day with someone, looked like not her husband, or she said she had to leave early from work that day, but later I talked to Josh and she wasn't home till 9 or whatever. You would just find other odd little bits and pieces.
Yeah, and that's typical. Usually there's a lot of breadcrumbs.
Some odd charges on her credit card.
Exactly.
With the one she left behind.
Maybe even a previous affair that blew up in her face or something. A pattern of affairs. Well, I'll give you the summary. There's none of that.
Of course.
There's no signs she was contemplating it. There's no evidence of an affair. There's no evidence that she ever had an affair. And there's lots of evidence that she was looking forward to things later that week on her schedule.
Quick question. So, because maybe we missed it. Maybe in small print next to the thing that said, if I go missing, it's probably murder. Maybe next to that in small print that said, but I'm also having an affair.
So it's possible, though, that someone could have picked her up that night. She could have called him like, oh, he's gone. Come get me. And she could have left everything behind to make it look like Josh killed her, to throw people off the trail, and maybe even to get revenge against Josh, right? And maybe the guy had a lot of money, as you were saying. And honestly, as I say this out loud, I hope this is true.
Yeah, I guess.
But
sucks for the kids.
But extremely unlikely. And I think in a lot of these cases, the individuals will show up soon after, like the relationship will blow up, or they can't resist to
also,
reach out to their mom or something, you know.
Which part of like, all I care about is my children. Please take care of them. If my parents can't, then my sister. Which part of that equates to, but I'm also leaving them and I don't really care what happens to them.
Right. Plus, if you were really trying to implicate Josh, it wouldn't be hard to be more overt about it, right? Like you could have written something like, he threatened to kill me, or he put a gun to my head, or something. You know, there would just be more overt evidence.
Yeah.
Now, if she's a mastermind, she would play it subtle. But anyway, the fourth claim is on Monday. This is the next day after the camping. Jennifer, which is the older sister of Josh, Jennifer and the cops called Josh many, many times. You know, remember from a previous chapter that the daycare owner drives to the house because the boys didn't show up to the daycare and bangs on the door, no answer. The daycare owner calls Jennifer and the mom, Teresa, says, what's going on? Jennifer and Teresa, they suspect immediately that it must be a carbon monoxide poisoning thing, which we were wondering why that would be the obvious.
The go-to.
Yeah. And then they call the police and they call Josh many, many times, obviously. Yeah. And they call Susan, both of their cell phones. And they demanded that he come home, but he didn't come home for a number of hours. He didn't come home until 5 p.m. They were at, remember that
oh my God.
They're at the house in the morning. When he arrived home, he told the cops that he didn't answer the phone because he turned his phone off to preserve the battery. But the cop looks over Josh's shoulder and sees there's a charger in the car.
Right.
Thoughts on this?
Well, of course there's a charger in the car. He's going camping. He's got to have a cell phone. He's got to have a charger. Come on. Number one. Number two, it's very, 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 very convenient. Just so convenient that on the day that he forgot that it was Monday and he had taken the kids camping at midnight and the wife was home and is now missing, that it just happens to be that on that day he also is not taking calls.
Yeah, but why would Josh say, I was trying to preserve the battery on my phone, even though behind him in the car is the charger? Is he forgetting the charger is there? What's going on, you think?
Yeah, clearly it's not. This wasn't a well-scripted part of the plan. He's not going like, okay, right, so when they ask me about my phone, I say that I turned it off. And that's why I didn't bring my charger with me. No, that wasn't part of the plan. He's literally just flying by the seat of his pants.
Yeah.
They're asking him, why didn't you pick up? And the only thing that came to mind was, I turned it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't thinking 2 steps ahead at that point.
Yeah, and I think this is why this case is still being explored by so many people on the internet, like me, today, is he stupid or what was going on there? And the fact that he got away, if he didn't get away with it, you'd be like, well, yeah, he's just a dumb criminal who didn't
but
know
he got away with it.
But he gets away with it.
Yeah. Well, because a lot of that stuff, having watched enough trials and things, a lot of that stuff is probably not that strong. And you need to be what do you call it? Beyond a shadow of a doubt, right? Like you have to have that certainty.
Not to charge somebody.
No, not to charge someone.
He was never even charged.
No, I know, but the prosecutors have to feel like they have a case that's beyond the shadow of a doubt because the jury's not going to convict.
No. I'm not illegal. They don't need to believe, and I'll get more on this later. Prosecutor doesn't need to believe that right now they have a case beyond a reasonable doubt. They need to believe they have enough justification to invade someone's rights.
Yeah, but they didn't feel that way. Because if we are using this as an example, why didn't they charge him? That's weak sauce. To us, it looks completely guilty, and I think it is, but it's not. It's nothing. It's like, well, he said that he turned off his phone because he didn't want to waste the battery, but there was a charger in his car. Would be irrelevant in court.
Yeah. So the conclusion on this claim is it's ridiculous on its face because the chargers is claimed that he was preserving the battery. That's ridiculous. And later I'll get into why I think he made this mistake, because he made a lot of mistakes.
And by the way, it's like it's super cold out. I'm concerned about my battery dying in my car. I'm not plugging anything in right now. My phone's the least of my worries. I'm turning that thing off. I just want to get home. It's cold. You see the storm is like all these things are plausible deniability.
Yeah.
Not that he thought of them, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. And I also think that him being super frugal, pathologically frugal, might have also harmed him, because another thing he could have done is just ditched his phone, because he doesn't need it that day, right? It would be a viable excuse. I lost my phone. But because he's so frugal, which I'll get into later.
But then how
as
do
well.
you explain? So if I misunderstood, my understanding from what we discussed in a previous episode is that his wife's phone was also in his truck without a SIM card. Why would he keep the phone in the car?
Yeah, again, it's been discussed and debated.
Yeah.
Was it an oversight?
Yeah.
Was it a plan? And I'll get into more of that later regarding my theory.
Yeah.
And also at the very end, I'll talk about his personality and how that might have come into play as well. So the fifth claim that Josh makes is that Josh claimed he was at work. So when he first gets on the phone, when they first get him on the phone, he says, I'm at work. What's going on? But when Jennifer confronts him and says, I don't know what she said, but I think it was something like, we called your work and they said that you're not there. Then he says, oh, yeah, I'm camping right now. So how do you explain that?
I know, but that's another one of those like, well, look, I was embarrassed. I did skip out on work. I lied, but it's like, what are you gonna do?
But why would he do something that stupid, right?
Because he's not planning this very well. Like I think over and over we're gonna hit a wall where we want it to look like he really masterminded the heck out of this, and he didn't.
I'm not asking for mastermind. I'm asking for just like mild mind, you know, just mildly put together in terms of a plan.
But you could imagine. Again, I don't believe this for 1 second, but you could imagine it's like the Vicini scene from Princess Bride. Like he thought one too many moves ahead. Like it's like, okay, here's the deal. If someone is really innocent in this situation, again, I don't believe this is the case, but if someone's really innocent in this situation, they get called and asked where they are, but they know that they're not at work, because in reality, of course I know that it's Monday. I'm gonna lie, so I'm gonna say, oh yeah, well, I'm at work.
Okay.
And then if they confront me, I'll say, okay, fine, I'm camping. That's my plan.
Okay.
I don't think that's what happened. I actually think he wasn't thinking these things through.
Yeah. Okay. The sixth claim that I want to go over, the last one, is Josh said that he thought it was Saturday and not Sunday, right?
Right.
And more on this later, but I think this is, long story short, these weird claims that he makes on Monday, I think are a result of him panicking. The claim that he wanted to preserve the battery in his phone, that he was at work, and that he thought it was Saturday, not Sunday. I think that he was just panicking for some reason. The plan didn't go as planned.
It seems like a complete unforced error, because no matter what, he could have still been home by sun up on Monday, right? Like there's no reason why he had to actually not come home.
Right.
Other than, again, I feel like it's almost one of these, like, he's trying to figure out the moves, but he's like, all right, if I'm there in time to go to work, I'll just go to work. Okay, but what do I do with the kids? Oh, right, like the kids. I would have to have a reason to drop them off somewhere else. Okay, that's a problem. But that just means he hadn't actually thought anything through, right? Because,
or he did have a somewhat viable plan and something threw a wrench, or I don't know.
So I mean, she'll show up Monday morning after the all-night camping with the kids, whatever. Show up Monday morning, realize you're going to be late to work. I'm like, I'm so sorry, I was camping. I'm like, but I'm on my way there. But then you realize Susan's mysteriously not home. So you go to your neighbor. It's like, have you seen Susan? What? Well, we were camping all night. You saw us leave, right? And why not that? Like, you know.
Well, the cops showed up at the house because the sister...
you show up before that, right? Because you have to. That's what I'm saying is like
earlier in the morning.
Yeah, because you're like, So sure, let's say he didn't anticipate the whole carbon monoxide thing, whatever. He must have known people were still going to call to find out where the hell everyone was.
That's unclear. And that is a very good question. But given his disorder,
Yeah.
if it is narcissistic personality disorder, there's a chance that he just doesn't think outside of his own head.
And he's been fired multiple times, so he doesn't really even have a good sense of what being at work on time might be. I don't know.
And he also was largely uninvolved in the children's lives, and didn't really interact with the daycare owner very often.
Right.
And if he had, then he might have known that the daycare owner wasn't just like I could imagine in his head he's thinking, well, the daycare, it's just like a warehouse full of kids with a bunch of adults that don't give a shit and they're just phoning it in, because that's the way he thinks, right? But anyone who works, especially with, like, because my mom and my sister have daycares in their homes. My mom did have a daycare in her home. These daycare owners are like second mothers to these kids. They care deeply about the kids and would very quickly react if the kids didn't show up when they're supposed to, So it's possible that Josh's disorder shot him in the foot in this one. There are other claims that Josh makes, by the way. There are many, many, but I just highlighted the 6 most important. But just a couple other runners up is he claimed that he just drove around all night long. He claimed that he washed the car that night, and he might actually have washed the car. But it's so hard to figure out when I start looking at all the data. And it really just shows that life is not like CSI. When you actually are a police investigator looking into these cases, you're cobbling together like so much data, and everyone is trying to remember, and it's hard to confirm things.
But it is, the more you tell me about this, the more I am baffled that there wasn't a charge against him.
Yeah, and I'll get into more of that later. The very brief summary that I'll say is that either none of us understand how the legal system works, which is possible. The police have to go to the prosecutor just to ask to, the police can't charge Josh on their own. They have to go to essentially their boss to see if it's okay to charge. The police really wanted to charge him, according to later interviews, which could be questionable, 2020, but it sounds believable. And according to the main investigator, he says that the prosecutor was resistant because the prosecutor believed there wasn't enough evidence at every step of the way, by the way, not just the first day, but the second day and the third day. As the evidence mounted, according to the lead investigator, the police officer, he says, I don't understand why the prosecutor was so conservative about this.
But that's what I was saying. It's like, look, since there's no body, right? There's no body, and motive is murky at best. Like, there are a couple, they argued, I don't know. There was an insurance policy, but there's no body, so I don't know. So that's already two problems, right? No motive, no body.
Yeah.
And then you have lots of circumstantial stuff.
Right.
But to your point earlier, investigate, open up the books, go.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder if the prosecutor got burnt recently, where they
it could be.
charged someone quickly and then the city got sued because they moved too fast, or the prosecutor got humiliated by jumping too soon.
Yeah.
Because another thing to consider is that I believe the police are used to cases where the perpetrator will slip up or even just confess because they're stressed out. That happens a lot more than you might think. And they just thought, okay, we don't have enough. It's, as you said, there's no body. We don't even know if she's dead. We don't even have a case that she's dead. She could have ran away with someone. We just don't know. But he'll fuck it up. Like with the Jodi Arias case.
Right.
Eventually, someone stumbled upon the body of the child, and it was close by.
Yeah.
And, stupidly, right? They could have gone back. Whoever killed the child, Jodi Arias seems like the likely candidate, and snatched up the body and disposed of it more permanently or farther away or something. And the typical situation is that just doesn't happen. So I think they were figuring eventually something will land in their laps, and it just never did. You know what I mean? Okay, so what I want to do next is actually go line by line over the various different theories that are out there regarding what happened to Susan. And also I want to go over what his mindset might have been, because I think that's important to speculate about, given the data, to point us in a direction of what he might have actually done. But I want this to be for the patrons of the podcast, because they're the ones who asked us to do this whole deep dive, and they're the ones that literally pay my bills. So if you want to hear the rest of this chapter, along with all of our other deep dives, become a patron of the podcast by going to patreon.com. Otherwise, please take care of yourself, because
You deserve it.